wait just a couple more minutes here. We'll put everybody on mute for now, and then you guys can take your phones off mute here in a second. Okay, everybody, we're going to wait a couple more minutes and see if we get anybody else joining us. So hopefully you can hear me. If you can, what I'd like for you to do, there's a chat button there. And if you could just say hi, I'm going to type in hi. And let's see here. Hello. And if you guys could respond, that'd be fantastic. And then we'll get started in another minute or so. Hey, Kelly. There you go. All right, so hopefully everybody can hear me. Hi, Sarah. Hey, Abby. All right, great. And Kara, thank you. All right. Awesome. So we'll just wait another minute as people load the program, and then we will get started on our webinar presentation for the Gildan Esprit de Ski Lakeville Duathlon and Triathlon Starting Line 101 clinic, and we'll dive into it. This should be roughly half an hour or so, so it'll be a quick, informative evening for you, and we'll get right to it in about 30 seconds. Okay, I see we had somebody else join us. I think it's Sarah. Welcome to our call. So we're going to get started on our webinar tonight. Again, thank you for attending. This is our Gildan Esprit de Ski Lakeville Duathlon and Triathlon Starting Line 101 webinar. And we have a really good event for you this evening, information, education, to get you ready for the race. So once again, thank you very much for attending the webinar. And we're going to step right through the deck. And again, it's going to take maybe half an hour with Q&A, but we will certainly stay longer if you'd like, and cover as much information as you would like. So let's talk about some of our objectives today. Hopefully you can see my screen. There is a chat feature there on your screen, and you can certainly send an email at any time, and that would be fantastic if you can do that. And as we go along, feel free, in fact, to send a chat and let us know if you have any questions, because on the call with me today are two of our leaders with Esprit de Ski, including Abby Gilstrap and Kelly Donahue. And you can see all of our pictures there. In fact, they're going to be on the call and helping us out throughout the webinar. Let's talk about our objectives first before everyone has a chance to introduce themselves. So we're going to provide information to make your race day a great experience, lots of logistic information. We're going to answer race-specific questions for you, and we're going to talk about training, also information regarding upcoming course clinics and other events. So let's go into our presenters. First of all, let me introduce myself, and then I'm going to hand it over to Abby and Kelly. My name again is Troy Jacobson, and I'm the head coach for Lifetime Triathlon and Lifetime Endurance. I've been with the company now for almost 8 years, and I used to be a professional triathlete way back in the 1990s, and I've coached lots and lots of athletes over the years, as well as coaches over the years, and it's certainly a privilege to be part of Lifetime Fitness, a leader in triathlon, and certainly part of this webinar series. So Kelly, I'm going to hand it off to you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. Thanks, Troy, and thanks everyone for jumping on. I hope we're able to answer some questions about the race and about training that you guys have today. Like Troy said, my name is Kelly Donahue. I'm the Gildan Esprit race manager for Lakeville, and I'm here in Minnesota, so was actually just out driving the course last week. So hopefully now that the snow's starting to melt, we can all get out on our bikes a little bit.
Awesome. Yeah, I understand there's a lot of snow out there, and it's cold too. That's why fat tire bikes are so popular in that part of the country. And Abby, can you introduce yourself, if you will? Abby might be on mute. So, Abby, can you hear me? All right, we're going to come back to Abby, and she will be able to introduce herself. So we'll be right back with her. And she did send a chat message to everyone saying hello, so we know she's on the call. So let's start stepping through our deck. And once again, I'll introduce Abby as the brand manager for all of the Esprit de Ski events throughout the U.S. So she plays a very important role in all of our events. So let's talk about the schedule of events, just to get you ready. You know, some of the logistics, the important information that you'll need to know to really have a smooth experience there. And I'm going to hand it over to Kelly now. Kelly, why don't you step through these next few slides?
Yeah, absolutely. So before we get too in-depth about the training, we're going to talk about kind of what happens on race day, what you guys can expect. So before we even get there, we're going to first start you off with Saturday, May 21st. And that's when you're going to come to Lifetime Fitness in Lakeville and pick up your race packet. So the day before the event, for big multi-sport events like this, we ask you to come the day before so you're able to get all the materials that you need for race day before the event. On that day, we're actually going to have the entire transition set up as well. So it's a great opportunity to go in and look at where you're going to be in transition, so you're able to kind of get a feel for where the race site is. So that Saturday, you'll come, you'll meet some of our volunteers, they'll get you all your materials, and then we'll also have what we call athlete meetings. So these are going to be 2 opportunities, both of them. You don't have to go to both of them. We highly recommend you go to at least one of them if you're a first-time duathlete or triathlete. And this is really where we're going to talk about the race and go over, you know, turn by turn for the course and really get into the nitty-gritty of the race so that you guys are totally race ready for the next day. We'll also answer any questions you have during those meetings as well. So we'll have chairs set out and I'll be there along with the rest of our race staff. This day is also really great for driving the race course because, you know, our race staff is going to be there able to answer any questions. So one tip that I have for athletes, if you've never been to Lakeville or if you've never seen the race course, I'd recommend just going and driving it if you have the time. That way on race day, you know kind of where the hills are and what to expect going into the event. It also offers the opportunity to, again, ask any questions. Like I said, race staff will be there. We're going to have all of our super helpful volunteers there. So you can, you know, ask any last-minute questions you have, and hopefully we'll answer a lot of those today again. But that will be available along with a lot of our sponsors. So it's also a fun day, you know. You're all kind of nervous and excited. We'll have Gildan there. We'll have our charity Girls on the Run there. So it's a way to visit them, maybe enter some fun drawings, get some free swag. So it's a fun pre-race day. And then next, kind of what you'll receive that day. So you're going to get this packet of a bunch of stickers and a bunch of stuff that if you've never done a race, don't be afraid to ask us what each one is. You're gonna get a wristband, and that is so that you can with a bunch of stickers, and you're assigned what we call a bib number. So every athlete is going to get a number, and your wristband's going to have that number on it. Your race bib's going to have that number on it. A sticker for your helmet is going to have that number, along with a sticker for your bike. So everything that you own all has that same number on it, and that way, in transition, you don't accidentally grab somebody else's helmet, and that's kind of how we do security coming in and out of transition as well, to make sure that you're the only one who touches your bike. So if you get that on the Saturday before the event, that means that you can also feel free to put your bike in transition on that day. So you don't have to worry about carrying your bike on race morning. If you want to leave it in the transition zone overnight, you're more than welcome to. We will have security guards there overnight. So that's what the athlete wristband is. And it's really important that you keep that on all the way through race day so that you can check your bike out at the end of the event. You're also going to get your timing chip. That's going to be on the back of your race bib along with an ankle chip. So you'll obviously wear that the entirety of the race. You're going to get your awesome Moxie Cycling Sweetheart tank. So your participant shirt, you can wear that on race day if you choose so. I know a lot of people do. And then, like I said, stickers for your bike and for your helmet. It is imperative that you wear a helmet for this race, so be sure that you come prepared with that. You'll also get your race bib, and on your race bib, you're going to actually have a lot of fun kind of coupons on there too. So I know there'll be one for our Lifetime Spa and probably the cafe. So be sure to take a look at those, and if you want to, go in and schedule a spa appointment that Saturday, kind of for after the event. I know a massage might feel kind of good after. You'll also get your 21 plus wristband. So if you're planning on enjoying our bubbly bar afterwards, be sure to bring a photo ID so we can get you wristbanded for that. Also, you'll get your participant goodie bag, which will have some treats in it for you. And if you're doing our triathlon, you'll also receive your swim cap. It's important to not forget that on race day as well. And then safety pins to pin your race bib to your shirt. So it sounds like a lot of stuff that you might have never heard of before. So don't worry, it's a smaller packet than it looks, and we are definitely there to help you get every sticker where it needs to be. And we'll have lots of volunteers helping with that as well. So next up on race day, so you arrive in the morning, we'll have parking information up on our website. You want to make sure to kind of check our website, the week before the event, and really look at the schedule and kind of plan out your race morning. What time are you going to plan to get there? If you're someone who likes to be one of the first people there and leave a lot of time to go to the bathroom, make sure you get your transition set up. Kind of pre-plan that schedule. I think that's something that will definitely ease your stress if you kind of know your schedule going into the morning. So we'll open transition nice and early. We'll have lots of volunteers there to help you as well, whether you've dropped your bike off the day before or if you bring it on race day, we'll help you get you set up. The race is going to start 7 a.m. We'll have the duathletes start outside to begin the run, and then the triathletes will start either on the pool deck or at the indoor pool. We're going to be using both pools for the triathlon, so if you want to wear a wetsuit, you're more than welcome to. And then, of course, the post-race as well will be after the event. So that's kind of the schedule for the day. Make sure if you're able to stay and celebrate afterwards, definitely leave time for that. But that's kind of what the race day looks like. Again, just looking at the schedule beforehand and kind of planning your breakfast. That we'll get into the nutrition, but planning your breakfast, knowing where you're going to park, knowing where everything is. So next up is, I'm going to kind of briefly go over all of the courses. For the triathlon, the swim will be first. The swim will be in the pool, and we're going to be going in waves. So we will be able to start you with a friend. So during registration, if you didn't list a friend that you want to start with, feel free to email that over to us. So we'll be starting the swim again in the pool, and the duathletes outside. So the bike course is going to be the same for both events, the duathlon and the triathlon. And it's a loop course, so it's going to be starting at Lifetime Fitness for the triathletes and at Eastview Elementary for the duathletes. So the bike course, it's nothing too extremely grueling. It's 13 miles. I'm not going to get into the turn-by-turn for you. I would say kind of generally speaking, there's a decent hill at about mile 5 and mile 9. Those are kind of the two ones that if you've got a chance to go out the day before and drive the course, those are kind of the two hot spots to take a look at. One other thing to note about the bike course is that the aid stations will actually just be in the transition zone. So before the event, when you're arriving there, I suggest, bringing your water bottle, and we'll have water to fill those water bottles up at the event, and then grabbing anything before you head out on the bike course if you want some nutrition. So you'll go on the bike course, and then we'll head into the run course. So the run course for the duathletes will start at Lifetime Fitness for their first run. So their first run, you're going to be going from Lifetime Fitness to Eastview Elementary School on the run course. And there will be an aid station halfway through that run portion, which will have some water and some electrolyte drink. And then the second run for the duathlon will be that same exact course, but doing it backwards. So going from Eastview Elementary School to Lifetime Fitness. And again, you're going to have that same aid station at that halfway point. And then the triathletes will go from the bike at Eastview, they'll be finishing the bike at Eastview Elementary School and then going to the finish line at Lifetime Fitness. So everyone will finish at Lifetime Fitness. There'll be a big post-race celebration there. One thing, I wonder if we have any triathletes on the call, let me know, because we can go over the transition for the triathlon. It's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be split up between a transition 1 area and a transition 2 area. So what that means, and again, this is only the triathletes because they're starting at the Lifetime Fitness for the swim, but they're going to have a transition 1 area that has all of their biking gear at it that they set up before the race, and then they're also going to have their transition 2 area at Eastview Elementary School that has all of their run equipment in it. So the triathletes will do the swim in the Lifetime pool, then they'll come out to the transition 1 area, get on their bike, and they'll finish their bike at the transition 2 area where they'll grab their run stuff that they've placed there already and head out to the run. So their transition is going to be split up into 2, and then the duathletes will just have that 1 area.
All right. Well, thanks, Kelly. Abby, I see you're on the call now. You want to say hi to everyone and introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. Sorry about that at the beginning. I couldn't unmute my phone, but my name is Abby Gilstrap. I'm the Gildan Esprit National Brand Manager, and just like Troy said, it's just such a privilege to work for Lifetime Fitness and the Athletic Events Division, and just be able to be here as a support system for you guys today and answer any questions that you might have. So Kelly did a great job walking us through the first part of the presentation. So just looking forward to jumping right back into it. Troy?
Awesome. And Abby, really quickly, you and I were at the Esprit Indoor Tri in Tempe last weekend. Do you want to tell everybody about that really quick and how successful that was, how awesome that event was?
Absolutely. We just had our first ever Gildan Esprit Indoor Triathlon at Tempe last week. It was a huge success and just super cool. If you've had the chance to attend one of our Commitment Day indoor triathlons or any of our other Lifetime indoor triathlons, you would see a difference from kind of how we really brought the Esprit de Ski vibe to the indoor triathlon. And all the ladies had a great time, and we just produced a really great event. And it was just neat to see all the waves kind of really combine and work together and encourage each other throughout the entire day. So it will definitely be something that we'll be continuing in the future.
Yeah, it was fantastic. And as you know, Abby, my 12-year-old daughter Hope did it, and she just absolutely loves it as well. What a great way to get young kids into the sport. But just a great event, so much energy and excitement there, and what a great way to get into multi-sport. But in any case, let's keep talking about the duathlon and triathlon coming up, and we're going to go into our race preparation segment now, and just go over some of the high-level things, just the basics, the fundamentals, because that's what's important now. And honestly, even as you get more advanced in our sport, and I see here a couple of our athletes on the call are first-timers, which is great. And I tell you what you do now is really foundational to what you'll be doing in the future. So you're setting your foundation now. You're learning techniques, you're building your fitness, and all of this will pay off for you in the future if you remain in the sport, and I hope you do, because once you get into the sport of triathlon, duathlon, you'll be hooked for a long time. It's just such a great way to go for fitness, competition outlet, and everything else. So let's talk about some of our preparation. Learn the basics. I can't stress the importance of that enough. It's great you're on this call. Congratulations for being on this call, because for many of you, this might be a first step in learning the basics and the fundamentals to training and racing in multisport. Be consistent with your training. This means that you're dedicated to a program, and whether it's one that you get off the internet or one that you work with a coach or where you're with a team, you need to be dedicated to your program. And when I say dedicated, I don't mean every day you need to hit every workout 100%. I mean, honestly, that can be obsessive, and there's a fine line there. We want to be dedicated, though. We want to be consistent. I always give my athletes, the ones I coach, the 90% rule. That means if you hit 90% of your workouts, you're getting an A+. If you miss 10% of your workouts, that's okay. That's just life getting in the way. So you can have that. 90% is what you want to aim for, and hey, if you actually hit the mark a little less than that, you're still doing great. So be consistent. We have here practice your transitions. Transitions are basically the fourth sport of your triathlon, or the third sport in the case of duathlon, but honestly, it's still important in duathlon as well. It's part of your race time. So as you get more and more into the sport and you want to beat your times, you want to be more competitive, you need to really focus on that transition. But even if you're brand new to triathlon or duathlon, you still want to know the pattern. You know, you want to be comfortable going through the transition, because it can be challenging. Your heart rate's up high, you're anxious to get out there on the next leg, and if you don't have a pattern and you haven't practiced it, it's really difficult. Nutrition. I mean, we could do a whole half-day lecture on nutrition alone for multi-sport training and racing, but it's the key point here, and we'll talk a little bit more about this, is just to practice your plan. Come up with a nutrition program that works for you. Obviously, there's training nutrition, which is what you're doing right now. You know, every time you work out, the way you eat affects your performance in the future and how much of that exercise you adapt to. You know, your protein intake, your carbohydrate intake, your fat intake, how you mix that up is really the secret fuel that you give your body to perform and to synthesize muscle growth and do all these important things when it comes to training, and to have the high energy required to put out the kind of training efforts that you want to do. Get your gear organized and race ready. This is an important point as well, being organized in this sport, because there's a lot of moving parts. I mean, especially when it comes to the bike. You know, the bike in and of itself is just fairly complex with regard to tires and gears and, you know, handlebars. What kind are you going to use? Some of you will probably be using a cruiser bike or a mountain bike, and that's absolutely perfect for your first time or second time. As you get more and more into the sport, you'll probably want to eventually graduate to a road bike, and one day you might go to a tri-bike, which has a special geometry to it, And we're not going to talk about that now, but again, there's a lot of depth in this topic, and we're just touching the surface. Tame your mind, stay positive, say no to no, and this just comes down to developing your confidence in yourself, and you do that through your training. You know, that's where it's so important to put in the kind of training efforts that build confidence so you know you can get through the event. One thing that's really popular, even for long course triathletes, is something called over distance training. And what it does is it builds confidence. So it's really simple. Basically, it means that if you're doing a 10K run, you do some long runs a little bit over 10K, just so you know that you can do it. So training in a way where you build confidence, that you can finish the event and finish comfortably, is really important. Prepare your race day game plan, and that's going to be different for everybody, but strategy is important. And if this is your first race, you know what the plan is? To finish comfortably, to finish with a smile on your face, and to have fun out there. And that's it. You know, that if I was coaching you one-on-one, that's where we would go into this race. That's all we would focus on. What your time is, who you beat, don't even worry about that stuff. Now, as you get further into the sport, that's when you want to start shifting your strategy, and that's where maybe you want to work with a coach or talk to somebody who's more experienced to help with that game plan. And as I mentioned, you know, education is key. Learning the ins and outs of this fairly complex sport by attending the course tours and clinics, and Lifetime, gosh, we're going to talk about this later too, but we have so many educational opportunities at Lifetime, especially in the Twin Cities, that we'll tell you about later. But education is key. Abby or Kelly, would you like to add anything else to that slide?
Yeah, I'll jump in here. I think, oh, sorry, Kelly, you go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh, I was just going to say, you know, two things that I always do as, you know, even from when I was a beginner to when I was starting to get more competitive, but my two pieces of advice would be to do it with someone. I know having a training partner has made training so much easier. I started training with my sister, and it's just, you know, it's something that having a training partner just makes it so much fun. So if you've got someone who, you know, maybe they're a little nervous about doing one of these events as well, you know, bring them along to some of your training. Tell them they can do it too. Another one would be to come up with some sort of saying that means something to you to tell yourself on race day. When you get tired, you know, on race day, you know, you're going to be probably tired at some point in the race, and whether it be, you know, just be confident or just finish, get a little phrase in your mind and start telling yourself that during training, so that on race day, when you hit that kind of tired point, you're ready to just tell yourself, I can do this.
Yeah, Kelly, I think you said it best. The tame your mind really stands out to me in this presentation, just because I'm a big believer on sports psychology and just how you do have to build your confidence and practice positivity every day when you are training to be in the best state of mind come race day. And also, just want to remind everyone in the group, you know, Gildan Esprit was designed to be a race that was meant a race for every pace and passion. So it's absolutely not meant to be a competitive atmosphere. And just reminding everyone that there will be hundreds of women out there ready to cheer you on, and our team is just super excited to host you and cheer you on to the finish there.
That's great. Well, good. Well, let's keep going on, moving through our deck here. And now we're going to talk about the bike. And we have comfort and practice. And, you know, two important words, being comfortable on the bike. I can't stress how important that is, because it doesn't matter how fast your bike is. If you're not comfortable, you're not going to be able to ride effectively, and it's not going to be a great experience. And especially in our sport where we have to run off the bike, you need to be comfortable on the bike, and that means being fit properly. So even if you're using a bike at home that maybe is one that was in the basement that you're just pulling out, make sure that it fits you properly, that the saddle height is the right height. And if you're not familiar with proper bike fit, then certainly Kelly can help you, or Abby, or one of our coaches in the area would be more than happy to look at your position and make some suggestions, but also practice. And this goes into the point. You need to train. You know, you need to get ready. You need to ride on the roads a little bit, be comfortable on the roads, comfortable with going around corners, even comfortable at times with riding with other people, because you may not be riding in a pack in the event itself. However, you will have people out on the course that might be passing you, or you might be passing other folks. So make sure that you build some skills. Skill set development is really key and critical. And I'm a really big fan of indoor cycling too, which we can talk a little bit about. But let's go through these points. Know the course. If you live close to the race site, you should pre-ride the course. Beware of the tight corners and the rough roads. And that's a great benefit to having a local race like this. You can actually go out there and ride the course. And Kelly, are there any rides that will be scheduled?
Yeah, we'll be getting into that a little bit later too, but if you've got your calendar out right now, it's going to be coming up actually next weekend, March 12th. We've got our Starting Line 101 clinic that it's actually supposed to be in the 60s. We were a little nervous scheduling it that early in March, but I think we'll be able to get out there and ride. I know the roads are actually fairly clear. I was just out there last weekend, and they're looking pretty good. So we'll be doing our Starting Line 101 clinic that day with a course tour afterwards.
Okay, great. All right, and yeah, we'll remind everybody of that later. And that checks off another box there. Attend the designated course tour. So you do know the course. So you have some familiarity with where the corners are and what the roads look like, even in terms of where the hills are, so that you can pace yourself and you know how to ride the hill. That's really important. So try to attend those course tours. It's really, really key. And then obviously, if you ride the course, go early to avoid the traffic, which is just great advice. The next point is smart pacing. Be smart on the bike. Use an easy gear when you head out of T1, which is transition 1. This is really smart advice. Sometimes you see people in a gear that's really hard to push. So in other words, they're in their big chain ring on the front and one of their smaller cogs on the back. And if you're not familiar with what those terms mean, you might want to look at the bike and maybe do some Google research to figure out how to shift gears properly. And again, that's another point we could dive into. But shifting gears, knowing how to ride your bike in the proper gear, hitting the proper cadence ranges, all of these are important factors when it comes to riding a bike in an event. Smart pacing, ease into the pace so you can find your rhythm, even if that means the start is slower than you expect. So going back to our first point, starting off in that easy gear where you can get off on your bike and really get the bike going really easily is important, because that sets the tone for your bike ride. But then easing into your pace is really key as well. So for the you athletes, you're going to be coming off the first run and your legs are going to be a little bit tired and your heart rate's going to be up. So easing into your pace with a higher cadence for the first couple miles is a really smart strategy. Even for the triathletes, same thing, right? You're going from the swim, you're horizontal, and all of a sudden, boom, you're vertical, you're running to your bike, you're a little bit disoriented, you want to get on the bike and ease into it. And don't be overly anxious, be calm. That goes for transition too. The calmer you can be, the more together and focused you can be, the faster things will actually go for you. I've seen a lot of really experienced athletes so anxious about getting out on the next leg, they fumble through transition and they end up going a lot slower than they should. And in the first part of the bike, they go as hard as they can and they burn through their matches right away. That's a bad strategy. So think about the first few miles on the bike as your warm-up, okay? Be in an easier gear, spin your legs, get it going. And to the next point, higher cadence. Layer gear towards the end of the ride to prepare your legs for the run. And remember this, the bike sets up your second run. It's absolutely true. So again, what does higher cadence mean to anyone? Well, I'll tell you, since no one's off of mute right now. Higher cadence is 85 RPMs or higher. So most people, and there are some exceptions, but most people are most efficient in the cadence range of around 85 to 90 RPMs. So that's a fairly high cadence, but it's one that you can accomplish. The key point is don't push that really big gear that's really hard to push, like the huge resistance gear where you're only pedaling at 70 RPMs, because that creates a lot of muscle fatigue that will really come back to haunt you on the run. So keep your cadence up, and then towards the end of the bike, you want to start preparing yourself both mentally and physically for the run, because all of a sudden you're going from one sport to another, and that transition is never really easy. That's why in training we do something called brick workouts, where we actually train going from the bike to the run. So towards the last mile or two, you can go to an even easier gear and up your cadence a little bit more. Some people even stretch out. They stand up on their pedals and will stretch out their lower back and their hamstrings, and they get their bodies ready for the run. From a nutrition perspective, you want to start making sure that you're taking in some fluids in that last portion of the bike so that you start the run with being hydrated. So that's another important element. Don't overhydrate, but make sure that you're taking in fluids towards that last third of the bike, okay? And remember that point, the bike sets up your run. And then we do have some rules out there. Kelly, would you like to go over some of the basic rules?
Yeah, just basic rules that we'll have on our website as well. But like I said before, having a helmet, we won't let you get on your bike without a helmet and without your helmet being clipped. So that is by far the most important. Another one is just being aware of where the course is. So, you know, there is going to be a few sections on the course where we will have one lane of the road, but the other lane of the road will be open for traffic. So just being really cautious that, you know, there will be some cars out there. And so staying on the right side of the road, not crossing the cone lines where we put them down, and just kind of having your heads up at times, you know, not getting too in the zone where you're just kind of focusing on pedaling and looking straight down. You know, be aware of other riders kind of at all times. So be aware of riders, be aware of cars, and our volunteers out there when they're telling you to turn left or turn right.
All right, great. Thank you for that. Well, let's go on to the run, because that'll be your last leg. And for a lot of people, it's the hardest part of the race. So what happens now, of course, is, you know, there's cumulative fatigue with the first run or the first swim, followed by the bike ride, and then you're going to go out on another run. Go figure, right? And if it's a hot day, it really adds to that fatigue. And, you know, there's some dehydration coming into play. But the point is to finish strong. It doesn't matter. Again, we're not focused on winning the race. We're focused on finishing the race comfortably and having a good time. So finish strong on the run. That should really be a goal. When you sprint to that finish line and you can go through that banner and feel really good about your experience, then you've had the perfect race. But one thing we do want to talk about is efficiency and form. And this is, once again, I bring up technique. Whether it's the swim, the bike, or the run, and especially the run, technique and form is so important. So our first point here is don't be afraid to mix up the pace, include intervals and tempo and pace work. And of course, that's in your training, because interval training really does a great job in boosting your fitness. What happens when you run the same speed all the time, especially if it's slow? Well, you stay slow. So if you want to just run at a nice leisurely pace, that's fine. But if you can incorporate some interval work into your program, that's really going to take your running to the next level. And it's not really a big stretch. It's not pushing the envelope that much. Intervals are as simple as running 30 seconds at, say, your 5K pace, where you're running a little bit harder, and then jogging or walking for 30 seconds, and then continuing that pattern. You would be amazed at how fast your fitness will go to the next level if you incorporate some interval work into your run training program. The next point, pay attention to your form. So arms should be bent at 90 degrees along your sides, and you want to get that nice relaxed hand posture. Don't be gripping your hand with that death grip. Just keep your upper bodies nice and relaxed, and no midline crossover, meaning you don't want your arms flailing around, because that'll really affect your gait and your stride. Focus on your quick feet, meaning let's look at a foot strike frequency or cadence of around 100 to 180, somewhere in that range, foot strikes per minute. Okay, that might seem a little bit high at first, but as you work towards that, it becomes easier and easier, and you become a more and more efficient runner. Okay, that's really important. Train with a variety of terrain, including hills, trails, and flats. Oh, hill work is just fantastic. If your neighborhood has hills, then make sure that you incorporate those into your run training program. And then run trails. I mean, it's so fun to go out and run the trails. It makes time go by so fast. So to do your steady state aerobic runs on the trails with a group of people is just great. And then on the flats, a lot of people will do their speed work on the flat terrain. Track workouts are great. Just go into a track, running a quarter mile at what you would consider your tempo pace, and then walking and recovering a quarter mile, that's a great interval session. I'm also a big fan of treadmills. So hopping on the treadmill and doing an interval session on the treadmill is super effective. And I'm a firm believer that incorporating treadmill work into your program once or twice a week can really help avoid injury as well. So think about that too. Drills are a great way to improve efficiency and technique. So examples would be like striders, high knees, skipping, bounding, incorporating those as dynamic warm-ups before you actually go start your run. They're great. Also with flexibility training, make sure that you're stretching. Most effective is dynamic stretching prior to your run, like the bounding drills, the high knees, and the striders. And then after your workout, doing more static stretching, sitting down on the ground, doing hamstring stretches and things like that, just to make sure that you're really working on every component of your fitness, right? You're stretching, you're working on skill development, you're working on your running conditioning as well. And then, of course, brick training, I mentioned that earlier, but this is an important component to any multi-sport athlete where you actually practice running immediately after the bike. And again, the point here is to get used to that sensation of heavy legs off the bike. The more experience you get at doing it, the more practice you get, the easier it gets. So the first time you do it, it's like carrying a 50-pound sandbag on your shoulders. It really is. But the more you do it, the easier it gets, and you just make that transition so much easier. So incorporate bricks in your training program. I usually recommend at least once a week, and some people will do it twice a week. So make that an important part of your weekly training program. Abby and Kelly, you guys want to add anything to the run piece?
Yeah, I'll jump in here. I think the biggest part for the run is, like Troy was saying, focusing on finishing the race and having a good time when you finish. So when you get to the run, and if you do notice that you are struggling, just to remember to dig deep and really stride it out and breathe. Breathing is my biggest struggle when it comes to running. So just taking those deep breaths and just knowing that you're almost to the finish line and how exciting that celebration is soon to be.
Perfect. Okay. So many of you are doing the duathlon, and duathlon is a unique sport. I'm actually a huge fan of duathlon. I actually started doing those back in the late 1980s, and when they used to be called biathlons, believe it or not. But I'm a huge fan. I think they're really fun. They're a great way to train. People will leverage early season duathlons to get ready for triathlon season, which is typically in the summer months. And it's just a really great sport. It's also challenging because you have so much running and you come off a first run onto the bike. And I always found that transition more difficult, honestly, than the bike to the run. So the first point is run a smart race. And we've talked about pacing and having a strategy, and certainly that applies to duathlon. Don't go too hard on the first run. So don't make the mistake of going out as if it's a 5K. I know it's only 2 miles, but don't go out as if you're running a race at the very beginning. As with my recommendation with the bike, allow for some time to warm your body up. First of all, you're going to warm up a little bit before the gun goes off, but go out and when the gun does go off, don't sprint. That first 500 meters, 1,000 meters, just kind of jog. Get yourself into your rhythm, and then you start getting into whatever tempo is comfortable for you, and that should carry you into the bike leg with good legs. Spend the first part of the bike getting loose. We already talked about that. The higher cadence, easier gears. Spend a couple miles spinning your legs. Hydrate well. You're going to really sweat a lot because you're doing a lot of activity, whether you're doing the swim or the run. At first, and then the bike, and then the run, you're going to sweat a lot. And in some cases, people can lose anywhere from 1 pound to 2 pounds worth of fluid in an hour of hard exercise. So you need to make sure you hydrate. Hydration starts days before the event. I mean, every day is a hydration event for an athlete. You need to stay hydrated. Otherwise, your performance will decline rapidly. You want to make sure that you're hydrated going into the event, and then during the event itself, you hydrate. So that means when you come off the first run, I would advise that you start drinking on the bike right away. Have a water bottle, a 20-ounce water bottle, and plan to go through that 20-ounce water bottle on the bike. You don't need to drink it all at one time, but you can sip it. And then on the second run, they'll have cups out there. Make sure that you're taking in some fluids because it's really important that you stay hydrated. Push the last run harder with whatever you have left. Again, to Abby's point, just finish and have fun and be comfortable. But, if you have a little bit left over and you have a mile to go, this is when you can have fun and really start challenging yourself and going harder and seeing what you can do. And maybe passing a few people at the finish line, which is always fun. And then finally, as always, we do stress the point that this is our recreation, this is fun competition, this is about fitness, and have that focus going into the race. Guys, any duathlon tips you want to add?
Okay. I think you nailed it with, not looking at the first run as the only portion of the race. This is a long event, and it's going to take over an hour. So keeping that in mind when you cross the starting line, go out at a pace that's comfortable for you. Don't get too caught up in, wow, this is a big race. There's 1,000 people here. Do your own race your own race, and go at the pace that's right for you. Don't get concerned about, the person next to you. We'll start you off in some waves that will be pace appropriate, but, really just go out and have fun from start to the finish.
Perfect. So let's talk a little bit about nutrition because it's an important topic. And a few highlights. Be sure to eat your dinner, low in fiber, about 12 hours before your wave, so that your body has time to digest. Really good advice. The race starts in the morning, and you don't want to have a late dinner the night before. So keep that in mind. If you can manage getting up early enough, eat your breakfast about 2 to 3 hours before the start. This is so that your blood sugar can stabilize and that your energy level is high going into the race. Make sure your bottles are full of the fuel you used in training. So whatever you have in your water bottle bike or in the bottle on your bike, make sure that's something that you've trained with. Don't try anything new. This is a cardinal sin, trying something brand new on race day. Don't do it. Just don't do it. Take my word for it as someone who's done it before. You want to make sure that whatever you do on race day, you've practiced in training. Pack extra fuel that your stomach can digest. Again, this goes back to the training and preparation point we made earlier. Practice with your goos or your gels or whatever kind of sports drink that you're going to use on race day. Make it a point to use that in your training. Depending on the heat and length of the race, you should have a couple of electrolyte tablets on hand. Electrolyte tablets are good for avoiding cramping and also helping with digestion and assimilation of your fluids. So most sports drinks will have electrolytes in them. This is if it's super, super hot, you may want to have some additional supplementation. I wouldn't be too worried about that, but that's something you could talk to a coach in the area and get their advice depending on the weather on race day. And if you're training for over 90 minutes, it's time to start refueling. So if you know you're going to be out there for 90 minutes or more, then it's really critical that not only are you hydrating, but you're also taking in calories during the event, which means goos, the gel product, the blocks, whatever sports product you like. Some people like potato chips, so it really depends. It's totally up to you. I would advise something, some carbohydrate-based sports supplement that's going to help give you the energy and the blood sugar required to feel really strong throughout the event. If you feel lethargic or you get that low blood sugar feeling, you want to make sure that you have some kind of sugar nearby. But the point is to avoid that feeling from coming up anyway, right? So that means you want to preempt that feeling coming up. So if you know you're going to be out there for a while, or even if you're going to take an hour, but you're going to be at your red line, you want to probably do at least a gel, 100 calories, mostly carbohydrate at some halfway point in the event. And that should give you the blood sugar required to get through without feeling that low blood sugar, lightheaded feeling that you just really want to avoid. If you do feel that way, then make it a point to get a sports drink or take in your sugars right away. Don't drink just because you're nervous. Make sure that you're hydrating well, but we don't want to overhydrate. We don't want to get to the point where we're drinking so much that our stomachs are becoming distended and we're getting bloated. That's counterproductive, counterintuitive. So drink to satisfy, but don't overdrink. Now we go into our equipment checklist. And, we talked about organization, how important being organized. Look at these things you need to bring. I mean, this sport is awesome in that there's so many moving parts, right? I mean, that's why I like it. I love all the bike stuff, especially. I mean, there's so many different things you need for the bike. It's almost fun to make out the checklist and make sure you have everything. But so if you're doing the swim, your swimsuit, the cap provided, goggles, wetsuit, you won't have to worry about that. The bike, you have your helmet, you have your shoes, you have your cycling attire, you have your flat kit, you have your sunglasses for the bike. For the run, you have your race belt, your running shoes with your quick laces, so the running shoes slide right on. You have your hat or your visor, you have your race singlet or your tri-kit. Transition, you have your towel or your mat to put all your stuff on. You have an extra water bottle, you have sunscreen, you have like a anti-chafe cream, like a body glide or something. All these things are so important. And then pre and post race, you have your extra clothes. It could be a chilly day. You want to make sure you bring a warm-up suit or extra clothes to wear, flip-flops, other nutrition that you can have after your race, because it's really important to have nutrition after your race, by the way, because that's when your body's most able to recover and rebuild muscle glycogen. So within the half an hour after your race, even 20 minutes, make sure you take in some carbohydrates and protein, okay? Sunscreen and your timing chip. So all these things are important. This is just a very basic checklist, but there's a lot more. There's other checklists that are more extensive than this, but these are the fundamentals. Kelly, would you like to talk about the tri-kit and the benefit of a tri-kit?
Yeah, absolutely. So for those of you who are asking, what's a kit? What's this guy talking about? A kit is a pair of bike shorts and this kind of matching top. So I know they sell them at a lot of bike stores or triathlon stores here in Minnesota, or kind of Gear West. Maple Grove Cycling has some. Eric's Bike Shop. REI even has some if you're close to one of those. But it's really beneficial because you can swim in it, you can bike in it, and it's comfortable to run in too. For a race that's like this, it's 13 miles, you can wear your bike shorts, your padded full bike shorts if that's what you're comfortable in. But tri-shorts are a little bit thinner. That makes it a little bit easier to run into, so it's kind of that happy medium between running shorts and bike shorts. So I know that we've got a lot on sale right now through Lifetime Cycle and Lifetime Tri. The Tri team has some, so if you're looking for kind of a fun matching outfit on race day, I know that's how I reward myself every time I sign up for a race. But if you're looking for something new, we're selling those on all of our websites as well. But they're great because then you don't have to worry about, do I need to change? Do I not? What do I wear? So those are some great options. Yeah.
Tri-kits, as you get more and more into the sport, they're just so convenient and comfortable. So really consider one for your racing. Well, good. Well, let's talk a little bit about some of the other training and clinics and other opportunities for education. So Lifetime Endurance is Lifetime's coaching department, and we have, especially in the Twin Cities, we have a great group of coaches. We have roughly 8 coaches in our clubs throughout the Twin Cities. Just some incredible programs, including Lakeville, where we have Tony Vukovic, who's one of our top coaches. He actually moved from Colorado and recently moved out to the Twin Cities, and he was running a really strong program at one of our Colorado clubs, and now he's at Lakeville. So it's a pleasure to have him there. We have many other really strong coaches in the area. I'm not sure the folks on the call, Kara, Kelly, Kendra, I'm not sure what club you guys belong to, but and Sarah, if you are interested in learning more about the program, let me know, or Kelly, and we can definitely put you in touch with one of our Lifetime Tri coaches. And at many of our clubs, we actually have a tri-team program. So you can train with a group of triathletes, all levels, lots of beginners. I mean, it's just fun, lots of fun, and they get ready for events. It's like a big party, a big social club. They train with each other 3 days a week under the guidance of their coach. They go to races together. They have social events together, happy hours, and it's just they train together on weekends, and they get together with Kelly and her team with the event production side of things, and they go out and do events. just a lot of fun. In fact, one of our programs, St. Louis Park, has just an incredible tri-team program led by Coach Lance Leo, and Lance is actually our regional coaching leader, and certainly if anybody's interested in getting more information, I would absolutely put you in touch with Lance, and he would help you out as well. Kelly, would you like to talk about the Starting Line 101 Clinic?
Absolutely. So our Starting Line 101 clinic is, like I said, next Saturday at 9 a.m. at the Lakeville Lifetime Fitness. So that will be me and our coach Tony kind of leading that up. And what that will look like is we'll be in a kind of classroom setting for the first portion of the day, and we'll go over some of the similar topics here. Do a lot of Q&A, nutrition questions. We'll talk about the course a little bit. We'll talk about race day a little bit. And then we'll go out for a course tour. So after that, we'll all kind of gear up and head out. And again, me and Tony will lead that along with some of our psycho leads. So that's a really great opportunity to not only meet me, the race staff, the coaching staff, but other athletes. You know, you guys can talk about your experiences, maybe maybe find a new training partner, and that way you have somebody on race day to kind of say hi to as well. And then April 3rd, we're doing a Gildan Esprit de Ski indoor triathlon as well, powered by our nonprofit organization, Women for Tri. So that's I'm so excited to host this. Again, it'll be at Lakeville Lifetime Fitness, starting at 10 a.m. That's a Sunday, and what that format looks like, if people are unfamiliar with the indoor triathlon format, is it'll be a 10-minute swim, and then you get about 10 minutes in the transition time where you can go into the locker room, quickly change out of your swimsuit to your running and biking clothes, and then you'll head to the cycle studio and you'll bike on the indoor bikes for 30 minutes, and then you'll head into the treadmills for a 20-minute run on the treadmill. It's a super fun, really entertaining event, great for training, great for people who maybe they want to try a triathlon but they don't own a bike, so great way to start there. It's only a 10-minute swim, so if you're a really nervous swimmer but you want to give it a shot, you know, it's just how many laps can you do. So if you do 2 laps, hey, you swam for 10 minutes, it still counts. So it's a great format. We're going to have a lot of energy out there. We'll have some fun Gildan Esprit de Ski swag to give out. So definitely check our website if you're interested in that training opportunity. It's great to practice those multiple disciplines in one day.
Great. Yep. Great opportunities for sure. And then finally, we do have a lot more events throughout the nation. And Abby, you want to touch base on this?
Yeah, and we have some very exciting announcements that will soon to be announced here in the next couple weeks, adding on and finalizing the rest of our schedule for Season 4. And just wanted to touch on our overarching theme for Season 4, that is Be Your Potential. And the message behind Be Your Potential can be applied to so many aspects of your life. And, you know, we're leaving it up to you to apply it into your journey, however you see it fits best. And just want to encourage you to share your inspiration or success stories on our Gildan Esprit de Ski Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or social media channels. You can always hashtag Be Your Potential. And then just remembering Gildan Esprit de Ski was designed to live behind the finish line as a community of active women who are all connected by a shared passion and desire to celebrate the healthy way of life through sisterhood and strength. So let's rally our tribes and work together to inspire as many women as we can this year in 2016 to become the best versions of themselves by pushing them to be their potential.
Awesome. I love it. Okay. Well, good stuff. Well, so here at the very end, you know, you're going to cross that finish line. You're going to get your medal, get your photo, head to the post-race party, and just hang out and revel in your glory, finishing the race and had a good time, and share the war stories. That's what's really fun, is sharing the stories, what the event was like, how you felt, and then, of course, talking about how the next race you're going to do, of course, and then how you're going to get faster, you know, how you're going to raise the bar and go to that next level, whatever that means for you. So let's open it up to any Q&A. Since we have such a small group, why don't I'm just going to unmute everyone, And that way, if you'd like, why don't you ask a question, or you can feel free to type it if you want. I hear myself in the background. But yeah, go right ahead if anybody has any questions. Well, okay, well that's fine too. And I know Kelly put her email. Okay, there you go. Hopefully you can hear me now. I muted everybody. There's a little bit of background feedback. So Kelly put her email address there, kdonahue@lifetimefitness.com. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to her or reach out to me at tjacobson@lifetimefitness.com or Abby at agilstrap@lifetimefitness.com, and we will certainly help you out in any way we can. Abby and Kelly, would you like to close our call?
Yeah, I just want to thank everyone for joining us tonight and just stress the importance, that we are here to help you and answer any questions that you do have. So please don't hesitate to reach out to any of our email addresses, and we'll just make sure to take care of you so you're ready on race day.
Super excited to host you guys all in May. So I hope we were able to answer some of your questions, and if not, my email address is there. I'm more than happy to answer emails. There is, just like a teacher tells their students, there is no stupid question. If you even want to know how to do your hair on race day, I will answer that question. So feel free to email me anything, and we're excited to host you.
Awesome. Well, thanks everybody very much for being on our call tonight. Good luck in your training, and we will talk to you again soon. Have a good night.